presented by Dano Seasoning. Yum yum, get you some.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Sunbelt Syndicate. We have a great episode for you tonight. To my right, my left, it always messes with me, TJ. But Mr. TJ Corman himself, how you doing tonight, TJ?
Good, brother. How are you?
Better if I didn't have to have 4 wisdom teeth removed tomorrow. I think.
Yeah, we're in that.
You have it coming up too, right?
Yeah, all 4 of mine got to come out. So, and the quicker the better, because these sinus issues are treacherous.
Yeah. I luckily don't have any sinus issues. I really don't have any pain associated with it, but they've been telling me 4 years that I need to get this done. And again, no pain, so it's like, there's no rush.
Right.
So we'll see how much that waiting decision is going to cost me, because they're impacted a little bit now. So
yeah,
we'll
that's how it
see.
goes.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we are sponsored and brought to you by Dano Seasoning, as well as College Football Dogs, part of the Dogs Media Network. So thank you for that to them for allowing us to bring this show to you. We have a good show for you on tap tonight. Not only will TJ and myself, as always, be coming to you with some Sunbelt action, but we also have a special guest in the Troy Boys coming on. We were actually featured on their show, TJ. I guess we recorded Monday night, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Episode came out on Tuesday. I think some people have actually gone and listened to that. They put out a great show. I like how they segment it into the next thing, do a really good job with that. I've always enjoyed listening to those guys. And obviously it's been a lot more fun when Troy's been good. So hopefully, they come on, we have a little fun. Share your comments and questions along as we go. This is a little bit more of a free-flowing show. I think TJ would agree with me on that. We do have some stuff set up to share with you. But other than that, bring it on. Trash talk, comments, questions, we'll go through it all as we go along the way here. TJ, I guess happy birthday to your dad also, right? Isn't that what?
Yeah, Dad turned 57 today. It's funny because my mom's birthday is November 21st. My brother's is November 29th, and my dad's is 22nd, and my dad's is November 29th. And then I'm the lone wolf in December on the 8th. So,
okay.
And the good news is I can never forget it. It's all like back to back to back. So,
true.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It is.
So it works out for everybody.
Do you struggle with getting a gift because it's so close to Christmas? You're like, what do I save for that? And what do I get them now? Or what? How does that work?
No, I mean, we don't typically do birthday gifts just because, like you said, Christmas is so close. Now, when we were younger, they separated them because it was like, you can't not, right? Yeah, you're young kids. But as we've gotten older, it's just like, we'll jump. And then also now that I have kids, or a kid, there's no.
Oh yeah, you have something to tell us, TJ? You more than one?
No. There will be no news broken tonight on the Sunbelt Syndicate.
Hey, I've got this button ready.
No, there will be no news breaking tonight. Not in the way of anybody getting pregnant over here in Wake Forest.
Oh, okay, yeah, none, not here in Durham either. At least not in this household. So. Anyway, now that we've avoided that for the night, TJ, let's get into, and we went through this already, but we're just going to focus on App and Troy as they're matching up in the Sunbelt Championship. We're going to see both of these teams in a clip segment that TJ likes to break down for us.
Go!
All right, TJ, I was trying to have this up before I got to that.
Listen, we're not perfect. This isn't ESPN, and I'm not Shannon Sharp. So it's all good.
There is no producer. You're looking at him. So
I'm scared to say you are the guy.
Also, before we move on, actually, I'm loving the T-shirt tonight. I didn't say that yet, but I love that.
Yeah. I try to switch it up. I try to wear a different little cartoon T-shirt. In this case, it's food because why not? But
absolutely.
I love my T-shirts. I got a million of them. I don't think I've worn half of them this season.
Yeah. For those that aren't able to see it live, he's wearing a Cheetos shirt with what's the guy's name again?
Chester Cheeto.
That's it.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. It's an ODU blue. How about that? We'll just say that for the people that can't see it. It's an ODU blue T-shirt. As far as the play we're going to have you kind of look at here, there is really two in a row. The first one's a deep shot to Caden Robinson, and we'll let it play through here as you kind of talk through what App typically has done here and what they maybe are trying to accomplish here, and the fact that maybe they're not as set in their ways as they have been previously.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a big time throw on first down, right? You don't have to throw the ball here. Typically, it is good, especially with this kind of field position on first down, to take a deep shot, right? Traditionally, App has not done that. We've been safe. We've run the ball, especially in a situation like this where, we've got one-on-one. Take advantage of it, right? If you have it, right? This is the down and distance to do it in terms of field position. Worst case scenario, you got a great kicker. You waste the down. That kind of thing. In theory, in the past, what we've done is we've come off of that into a run play. And I think this is what catches the defense off guard, right? Because now they've got, cover man, man across the board and cover one safety robber, right? So what ends up happening is Horn runs a great hookup route and he beats his one-on-one guy, right? And then he breaks a tackle and goes score. But I think, too, the key to this play is – number one, obviously, route running, because if you look down here in the bottom of your screen, the corner has inside leverage, right? He's playing them inside. So you have to have a great technique to even get inside and be able to hook that up, right? So he's playing them out to the outside. So it's a great route, right? Number two, the offensive line sees the blitz well enough, picks it up, and Joey's able to kind of sidestep that pressure and put a ball right between the 1 and the 3. So gave him a good ball, and then also gave him a chance to run after the catch. And then from there, it was just be an athlete, right? But going back to what we initially said, traditionally, this is what you and I have kind of been harping on the whole season is, right, don't be so predictable. Stop playing to not lose and start playing to win. And this is how you play to win, right? You have the better receivers, right? Your receivers, in any case, can beat most of the DBs in our conference. We just are flooded with them. And so trust those guys, let them make a play, and let Joey make a play. I mean, he's been doing it all year. And so I think this was a case of let's loosen up our belt straps a little bit and take the cuffs off, and let's go play some football. And I think, that showed itself throughout this entire game. So it was fun to watch, and certainly fun to be there and be a part of.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the little celebration. And I'll note that, again, for some of the people that are listening to the audio-only version, there's about a minute left in the half. Yeah. And just like you said, what did we typically do in that situation? Shut down, run the ball. We didn't get the big shot we wanted. Yep, so we'll play it safe. Maybe we'll get a field goal. But no, like you said, they're kind of going back to that always attack thing that they came out with. I think that was actually after you had left, right? Wasn't that a little bit later?
Yeah, we didn't have that, yeah.
Okay. But, yeah, that was kind of that always attack mantra that, again, it's not necessarily alive and well with this crew as far as the actual saying goes, but the way that they played this play in the end of the half, it kind of felt more like that. So, yeah, this just a phenomenal sequence of events there, and thanks for breaking that part down. Now we'll jump into a little bit different of a look. This is Troy's play against Southern Miss this past weekend, as Troy was up 11 points at this point, deep in the fourth quarter. I guess you're probably expecting Kamani Vidal to take a run here at this point. Sure. I think it's a first down, but anyway, I'll let you take it from here, TJ, and we'll check out what happens in this one.
Yeah, this play is cool because there's a lot of pre-snap movement, right? The first thing to do to kind of stifle a defense or at least get them on high alert is to move around a bunch, right? So you shift, then you send a man in motion, jet motion. You've got, basically the entire defense flowing left, and then you've got a throwback to your, receiver throwing a double pass. And I'll tell you, once we get to a different view, why this play is so wide open. Because what you'll see is once the shift happens, right? So you've already got the safeties kind of shifting where their coverage is, which obviously they're going to shade to the strong side, which is, for those of you at home, the strong side is always going to be the tight end side, right? So when that shift happens, right, strong side linebacker comes to this side, obviously the defense reacts. So you'll see here the outside linebacker is gonna come down over that tight end, right? Safeties come down. Now what's gonna happen is they're already on high alert, so that jet motion is gonna take that safety out of the picture. He's taking the safety, backside, and front side linebacker out of the picture. So now it's just pitch and catch. There is no, I mean, you and I can throw that in the backyard, right?
Maybe you could, but
you can throw it to me. I can maybe run about 10 yards.
Yeah, there we go.
But yeah, there's no safety help. I mean, it's a wide open play, and it's a great play design. It's a lot of creativity in this play, but also just poor. I mean, it really is just poor decision making and poor discipline, eye discipline by Southern Miss, because everything's covered. If you stay in base form right here, you've got everything. It's not like they went from a tight formation to spreading everybody out. They didn't do any of that, right? No. I mean, they basically stayed true to their alignment. All they did was move the strong side. And you overreacted to what really required no reaction, because now your safety, he's already in place. I mean, he's shading this side of the field to where, again, the strong side is, because you've got one-on-one on the outside over here and no tight end. So there's no reason for that safety to react up the way he did. But, it happens. We call it, as receivers, we call them nosy DBs, and eyes in the backfield, and you get hurt.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, that was a great breakdown there, TJ. I'm going to try and get to our scores here and also get over to some comments that we've had while we've been doing this. And we have to give Neil credit, because I do remember this. Neil says, not bragging, but I remember when I said we'd beat Marshall, JMU, and the Stink. Not thinking with heart, I felt we were coming on. No truer words. I mean, Neil, I remember you said specifically about JMU. I mean, he was.
Yeah, because really? I did not. I knew I said we beat Marshall, but I was not on I was not on board with JMU. So kudos to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Great call there. As the game got closer, I did feel more confident, but yeah, from a outside perspective going in, I think everybody did agree it wasn't going to be easy. Nobody to me was going to win that game in any kind of blowout fashion.
No.
Had James Madison matched up with App State early in the season, possibly.
Mm-hmm. We weren't. But see, to your point, we weren't who we are now then.
No,
we weren't who we are now 4 games ago. You know what I mean? I think we started coming on, and I think too there was. Listen, obviously, as a former player, said Cowboys will come on, and you did, and we did. Hallelujah, right? We got us a test tomorrow night with the Seahawks, the first team with a winning record that we'll play against, but that's neither here nor there. I've heard to the grapevine. Obviously, I've got some sources. I played ball there, know some people on the inside. He's coaching. He's coaching for his job, and when that happens, desperation kicks in, and you start to maybe let's not be so conservative with some of this stuff. So I know that to be a fact. It's not fiction or conjecture. I heard it firsthand. So I do know that he was. I don't know what the outcome will be. I do know that certainly JMU was kind of a tipping point, and then this game was kind of a telltale as to whether or not he was going to keep his job. So hats off to him. He took the cuffs off, and we played some ball. So
yeah, absolutely, really and truly did. And Montrell's got something to say here. Thanks for showing up again, Montrell. He pulled out all the stops. Absolutely, they definitely did. I loved it. I mean, so how about this? We'll come back to that, because I do want to get to this stuff. I want to be prepared for when the Troy boys jump on, that we've gone through some of these other scores, so that we're not kind of having them wait around it all for us. Yeah. But I do have something to say about that the coaching aspect. So we'll cover that back. But in a remarkable, stunning victory to me, not because I didn't think it was possible, but I didn't think that it would be 50-plus points for the Cajuns. We've seen them,
especially off last week.
Yes, we've seen them kind of struggle, right? I mean, you and I both thought a little bit more highly of the Cajuns than they produced this season. But ULM had some games that were back and forth early with some pretty good score outcomes, honestly. They just weren't coming away with the W's in the first early part of the season. But then it just kind of got worse as the season went on. And a game and a rivalry, if you will, that usually is close no matter what the records are on each side. This one was a complete blowout this time around. Anything significant stand out to you as the Cajuns trounce the Warhawks' chances to get one there at Cajun Field before they demo it to start construction of their renovated stadium?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that I will say stood out to me the most was a performance in the second and third quarter, right? They closed the first half out well, and they opened up the second half with that same kind of domination or mentality. And I think, obviously, if you score 20 points in a quarter, the game's pretty much over, right? That said, you don't let your foot off the gas, and they came out and then scored another quick 14 points in the third. So I will say that aside from them just being too much, right? And we talked about it, bounce back games that you didn't give your best performance. You come back the next week and you want to put your foot in somebody's behind, right? And that's what happened here. It's a classic case of let me get my face back. So I'll say the surprise was the score, not them winning, right? I think we both predicted them to win. I didn't predict this score. So and Neil is asking, pretty sure that they had let Bowden go. They did. Is that surprising to you at all? I mean, this is a school and a program that struggles with fundraising and money in general. They have a name coach. I'm not necessarily saying Terry Bowden was the greatest or anything like that. Sure.
He seemed to recruit okay for what they could do. Is it surprising you that they fired this kind of a coach?
No, and I'm not surprised because 2-10 is 2-10, man. I don't care how you look at it, right? I mean, you got to give me some wins. I need something to look, and it's been, years of mediocrity, right? And it's just at some point you get tired of it, right? And it becomes less about the name brand of who's coaching and more about, what the performance looks like. And so, am I surprised? No. I've seen a lot of good coaches get fired. So, we just saw some turnover up at Mississippi State, right? True. So, now granted that's after a few, I think 5 or 6 years of mediocrity. So that's that. But still, good coaches get fired too, right? Bill Belichick was fired at one point. It happens.
That's true. Frank Wright was just fired, but he wasn't a good coach. So anyway.
No, he was not. He was not a good coach at all.
Speaking of not good, how about the Chanticleers performance against the Dukes down there in Conway? A trouncing of 56-14 in favor of JMU on that one. Yeah, man. I mean, I thought JMU was going to win, but I did not expect 324 yards and 5 touchdowns for McLeod. That's insane. Yeah. Man, that's not. I mean, what? They haven't been this explosive all year. Well, maybe I think one other game they scored over 50 all year. And, I mean, McLeod just comes out and, I mean, they had 2 receivers over 100 yards. One receiver over 100 yards, another had 70 plus, and then, 3-4 touchdowns between the two of them. So, I mean, what do we do? Yeah, that's insane. I don't know if Joe can hear us, but it looks like he's joined in. Joe, you give me the thumbs up. I'll add you to the stage. All right, here we go.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Welcome in, Joe. Welcome.
Yeah, happy to be here. I want you to know my wife is not quite home yet this evening. My dog is, so you might hear my dog, but my dog went to App State. So, I mean, that should make y'all happy, to have one.
I don't even know what that means. I'm not even sure how to interpret that.
I'm going to say it's a really smart dog.
Yes, it's not good. I'll tell you that.
Does he have a teaching degree? Is the next question.
There you go.
No. I think she was deaned. I don't know. She doesn't talk much about it. She's happy to be back down south now with good barbecue.
Gotcha.
Oh man. All right, and we got Neil saying that he's agreed with Montreal. And I think he meant Montreal. It's probably auto-corrected. For Montreal, probably auto-corrected.
Montreal is a good steak. Speaking of steak seasoning, he sent me a picture. He's cooking steak and shrimp on the blacktop with some asparagus right now, which is why he was a little bit late joining. So, A, appreciate you rushing in to join us. B, I wish you didn't live so far away because I would like a steak.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Hey, I would take a steak on my last night of eating solid food for a few days after these wisdom teeth
I know,
come out.
right?
So, yeah,
it's gonna be
Neil's into the trash talk. Neil says smartest thing in his household.
Hey, I mean, speaking of people who are going to need some soft food, Joey Aguilar, he's going to need some soft food.
Man, he just comes
for
on throwing
several
darts,
days.
doesn't he?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of boys on that defensive line that are looking forward to feasting. So, especially one young man from Delta State, Nigeria, has a couple care packages for Joey. So I hope he brings some goodie powder to Pike County, Alabama, because he's going to need.
I hope your DBs are ready to run because we got to stay with a wide receiver that can outrun them. That's for damn sure.
All right, let's move this along, and we'll cover. And Joe, don't be afraid to jump in here, man. I know you know your stuff. You follow the rest of the conference just like we do, even though you're focusing on Troy. I know you know your stuff, and you probably know this team, one of these two teams on screen, pretty well as of right now too. And you probably like this score. So Texas State ends up beating South Alabama 52-44. Joe, let's start with you. What are your thoughts on this one?
I mean, if you're a Troy person, you recognize this. All that team in Mobile can do is disappoint you and let you down. When I die, I hope that 6 South Alabama football players will be my pallbearers so they can let me down one last time. I mean, this is just a team that is not ready for prime time. They're not ready for the belt. Texas State is honestly, they got kind of a gimmick offense this year. But of course, the boys down in Mobile couldn't quite figure it out. So yeah, no, I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised that Texas State won. No, I'm surprised by what happened in the first quarter. 24-0 in the first quarter is just. I mean, I thought it was going to be a blowout the rest of the way. And then South Alabama comes back and they score 17 and then 7. And the problem was they never could stop them, right? I mean, if they don't get out to a 24-point lead, we're looking at probably a completely different ballgame. That said, Finley's throwing for damn near 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then you've got Marty, who's also running for 100 yards or almost 100 yards. So, I mean, you've got, multiple guys that are having a day. South Alabama just didn't play defense. I mean, neither team, to be quite honest, played any defense at all. There was no defense played. That said, less of it was played by South Alabama. But that first quarter, man, I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, what are we about to witness? Is this going to be another 70-pointer? But it's close enough. That's for sure. Yeah,
that's the thing that's surprising to me is, like, defensively, South Alabama has been hot and cold throughout the season, right?
Right.
But Texas State has been pretty cold defensively throughout much of the season. And they're the ones who came up and again, you still had 44 points against you, so it's not a good defensive performance, but obviously in this type of a game, it's enough to win. Yeah. So it's just kind of one of those weird – I mean, how many 50 spots did the Sun Belt put up in the last week of the season is it's just crazy to me. I would never have called – I mean, maybe one team I would have predicted maybe 50, maybe. But probably not even one. And there's what, 4?
4 of them, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Yeah. And then 1 40-pointer and 3 35-pointers. So
yeah. Score points in the Sun Belt. Yeah. You have to score points in the Sun Belt.
It's almost like Big 12 football. Nobody's playing any defense anymore.
Yeah. Okay, so this next one, Marshall beating Arkansas State 35-21. This one did surprise me. I thought Marshall was kind of done and packed in. I know that their fan base kind of seemed nonchalant about it. I know they hoped for a victory. I don't know if they expected one, but a pretty good performance here in their last game and obviously gets them bowl eligible. Let's start with you on this one.
Yeah, I'm happy for Marshall. Obviously, I don't ever root for them or care for them at all. And this goes back to 1950. But that said,
you're not that old, DJ. Come on.
No, I'm not that old. But the rivalry is that old. That's for sure.
Right.
I'm happy that listen. I want and you and I have talked about this, and Troy or Joe, you I don't know how you feel on this topic in particular. I want as many of our teams to go to bowl games as possible, right? I want everybody to be bowl eligible, because it does nothing but strengthen the conference, right? And it strengthens the level of recruits that we can get in here. If you know that there's going to be a competitive game every single time you strap up every week in conference play, it makes you want to come here and play football, right? So I want all of us to go play bowl games. So I'm happy in that regard for Marshall. Apart from that, don't care about what else they do. Always hope they lose the app, and that's about it. But happy that they got the win. First and second quarter, they did show out. Didn't do much fourth quarter, but by that time, they didn't need to. So good game. And Arkansas State, listen, they're up and down, right? They're not a team we talked about this a couple weeks back. They're not ready yet. They're going to continue to get recruits. They're going to continue to get stronger. But I don't think they're ready yet. They just caught a Marshall team who was desperate to go to a bowl game, and that's what happened.
Yep, absolutely. I think Troy. I mean, you got me saying Troy now too.
I know. I'm looking at Troy boys right here, and
Yep.
I'll accept it. It's a beautiful word. I love to hear it. So
I got an uncle
call
named
me Troy. That's fine.
Well, also, Seabass can let me know. His video's not on, so as soon as he turns that on, I'll assume he's ready to roll. Unless you want to tell me he's ready. Otherwise, Joe.
I think Seabass might be ready. He is an actual fish, so he doesn't like to appear on video. So he might just have like a little logo to put up.
Okay.
So he's probably ready to go.
Okay, yeah. Seabass is in the stream with audio only, so you will not see him on the stream. But whenever the fish would like to speak, we'll
the fish will speak now. The fish is here.
Oh, here we go. There we go.
Flipping and flapping. Do you hear the bubbles in the back?
Right.
Well, you might need those superpowers this weekend down there in Troy, Alabama, from the sounds of it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a wet one.
Is it raining down there now, or is it nice right now?
No, it's beautiful right now. Tomorrow's supposed to be nice as well. It's supposed to come in on Friday and not stop until Sunday.
Yeah, the whole
Lord.
Southeast is going to be wet. I mean, we're wet up here in North Carolina, starting Friday to basically Monday. So I think everybody in the Southeast is going to get some sort of rain.
Yeah, it's going to be a wet, cold day in Troy, Alabama. Cold by our standards. 62 is cold. So.
Oh yeah, no,
yeah.
yeah, it's 38 degrees outside right now. So.
Yeah, it was in the low 20s this morning, right, TJ? Is that what?
Yeah, 21 degrees. It was 28 in Boone when we towards the end of the game. It got to be like 28 degrees.
Dang. Yeah.
I couldn't tell because I was, a little liquored up, but that happens.
Yeah. As you should be. Probably
shouldn't be admitting that on TV, but whatever.
No, it's fine. It's Jesus' natural heating. It's all good.
Yeah, there we go. Neil says, does the conference make bowl teams share the funds? I do believe that they share funds on the bowls if they get like a New Year's Six, right? I don't know if they share the funds on all bowls across the Joe, Seabass, you guys have any better explanation on that?
Yeah, Google knows.
No, I think from my understanding, I think that there's that CFP money that goes out equally. And then I think the conference takes all of the bowl payouts, but it goes back to schools based on the cost of going to those bowls. So Troy got more last year because we had like 8 days to figure out how to get to Orlando than a team that might have had 25 or 30 days to plan to get to Montgomery. So I know they do kind of a weird thing. I mean, in the Sun Belt, you're not making money off your bowl game. Your goal is to break even, and then hope that with enough teams in, maybe, you get a little something extra. But the bowl game is all about those extra practices and that extra chance for your fans to come see a great game and celebrate your players. So, anybody that thinks that going to the Camellia Bowl is about making a bunch of money has obviously never been to the Camellia Bowl.
Right.
Montreal says Yosef likes freshwater fish. So, Seabass, it's a good thing you won't be heading up into the mountains of North Carolina this week.
Yeah, no, I'm good. If they can find their way down the mountain and swim down here, I'll be more than happy to fend them off myself. You get the pun there, fend them off.
See what you did there.
Oh, man, the dad jokes are flying.
Yeah.
Speaking of flying, That's a terrible transition. But anyway, the Monarchs are on a way to the bowl game after a very unprecedented way to get there, as they were down 21-0 early against Georgia State, come all the way back and win this one literally on the last snap of the game. I'm going blank on the quarterback's name there now. Let me look over here. Wilson. I kept wanting to say Watson, and I know that was Blake Watson, the running back from last year, who's now at Memphis. I just saw him Friday night against Temple. By the way, American Conference, your Temple showing is horrendous. My brother is a Temple alumnus. That's why we went to the game. I was like, oh, they're playing Memphis. Could be a decent crowd. Horrible crowd. Yeah. Horrible atmosphere.
American Conference is not a great atmosphere to begin with. They're just not. I mean,
you're in an NFL stadium in the city of Philadelphia who's like sports hungry, and you can't get anybody to show up to your games. It's pretty sad. The one nice thing about that is you're in an NFL stadium and you got all the room in the world, which is never a usual occurrence when you're in an NFL stadium.
Right.
So kind of nice. Like the kids had like whole rows they could go run around in. So I can't complain too much.
That's terrible.
I'm just telling you now, no matter who you are in the Sun Belt, we have it better. Okay. We do have it better than some of the teams in the American who are supposed to be the best one out there. It ain't.
I'll say this. I'll go so far as to say I don't think there's a G5 conference better than the Sun Belt, period. And I don't think there's. I mean, if you stuck our top 4 teams in the ACC, they'd all still make bowl games. They'd all still. If you put Troy, Louisiana, you put JMU, App State, maybe even Coastal and Georgia Southern all in the ACC, they'd all go to bowl games. Pac-12, they'd go to bowl games. So I mean, I don't think.
I don't know about Georgia Southern. We just hammered them
on a typical Georgia Southern. Let's go with that. Not this year.
Yeah. A typical Georgia Southern, of the past, a typical Louisiana. Yeah, I think. I definitely think the teams don't get enough credit. Like the top teams here, like the fact that to me, and Joe and Seabass, you can answer this better. Where is Troy falling on like the others receiving votes category right now? Because I know they're not a top 25 team, and to me that's kind of crazy. But
there are some fans that are upset that we're not being recognized, and then there are other fans who, at the end of the day, really don't care. They just want a good product. And I kind of fall in that camp that if you just do what you're supposed to do, the rankings will come.
Right.
We don't have to sit here and spout rank Troy, because it's going to happen if you just win your ball games. We slipped twice. We're not going to cry about it. We did it. It happened. Should have we beaten James Madison? Absolutely. But it happened. That's the past. Now we got to move on. It is what it is, and I'm not worried about it. It'll work itself out.
Yeah. Unfortunately for guys like us, I mean, we got to go undefeated, right? Like it has to, and you got to go undefeated and also beat a P5 school. That's just kind of the luck of the draw for us. And the crazy thing is it's doable. It's just in our conference, it's very tough because, we all beat up on each other, towards the end of the year. It's really, really hard to stay undefeated because you've got JMUs and Appalachian States and really teams like Texas State who can win really any game, right? They're never not in a game. So it's tough across the board for us to, go undefeated, but that's the luck of the draw. And that's who you have to be. And like you said,
right.
When you win the games, it'll come.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and you brought up the Power 5 game thing, that the spectrum of Power 5 ability is vast.
Right.
And I think we forget that whenever some people's like, oh, we're playing a Power 5 team. We're not playing Alabama. Not everybody, and no slight to some other people, but Virginia is really not a difficult Power 5. I mean, compare that to Kansas State. One of them's ranked in the CFP top 25, and the other I could laugh at.
Right.
And so, like you said, not all wins are created equal. Not all games are created equal. Not all schedules are created equal. And it's just the luck of the draw. It's the way it shakes down. And these contracts for us are made 12 to 15 years in advance. Who would have thought that Kansas State would be the team that it is right now when we signed on to them 15 years ago?
Right.
And that's just the luck of that draw too.
Yeah. Absolutely. Going back to this matchup specifically here, we did have a Montreal asking, is Coach Elliott on the hot seat?
Whew. I don't know, man.
I don't know. I'm going to say no because, like, at first he was like one of the best thought of coaches in the conference for the first 5-6 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
And like this is a perfect game to talk about, right? They're up 21-0. Coaching can be at fault for letting a comeback happen, but I mean that's a lot of players on the field that you're going to say isn't partly their responsibility as well. So I know ultimately it always comes back to the coach, but you're also looking for a guy who's, pumping up these kids before games. You can tell he just loves these kids. He loves these athletes that he's got on his team, and he feels like he's trying to succeed. But I do get the rhetoric you just talked about earlier. Terry Bowden, being let go at ULM. You can't stay in mediocrity, and that's what Georgia State's program has been.
Yeah, that was nuts.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Because who wants? I mean, before you break up with somebody, right? We all know this, guys. We're all attractive-looking gentlemen. I can tell just from the thumbnails. I mean, but before you break up with somebody, I mean, you better make sure there's another option, right? On Friday night. I mean, who wants to go to ULM? Worst facilities in the conference, $300,000 a year as a head coaching salary. Who wants that? I mean, Georgia State's in the same position. I mean, all these people saying, oh, Georgia State should make a change. For what? Who's going to come to Georgia State to have no fans, play in Atlanta where no one realizes that you're playing? You actually do better on the road because there's an environment. Right. When you're at home, that's when it gets worse. So I just question these schools making these types of decisions when they're really, what is the next step? There's got to be a plan.
Yeah. You can't, there has to be you courting someone else from a coaching perspective to go into your dating analogy. There's got to be somebody that you have in mind that wants that job. And it can't just be, if you've been serving your fan base mediocrity for the past 4 or 5 years, you can't just have some new up and coming coach that you think might take you to the next level. And they've only proved it at the high school level. Like, that's not how this works. So you've got to bring somebody in who understands the culture, who knows the game, who, can do the job. And unless you have somebody that, or they have somebody that we don't know about, it's hard to fire these quality coaches. I mean, we talked about it. Quality coaches get fired all the time, but there has to be a succession plan. And I don't know what that could possibly be.
Yeah, that's a good point. Very good point. Kyle's got a question here for you, Joe and Seabass. How many fans do you think turn out in Troy this weekend? I know for sure it would be 35,000 fan base in Boone. I'll be honest, before you answer that, I don't know if it will. I've been to a championship game when we played Louisiana in Boone. Weather was not the greatest that time either. It wasn't a full stadium. It was kind of like the first round of the FCS playoffs where, like, the fans that are there are going to be loud. They're going to care, but it wasn't a packed house. So I don't think we would have 35,000 for a championship game, to be honest. I'd love to see it. I'd love for Troy to put in that many too, but I mean, now with the weather as a part of that, what are you guys thinking you're going to see down there this weekend?
Tom, you're not being any fun at all, okay? One of the rules of the Sun Belt is as long as the game isn't at your stadium, you tell everybody that at your stadium it would have had 85,000 people at it, okay? Right. So that's the first rule of Sun Belt football, and you're forgetting it. Obviously, last year was raining as well, bad weather during the Coastal game, and Coastal brought no fans. I mean, maybe Coastal had less fans in the visitor section at Troy last year during the title game than Grayson McCall had credits that would transfer. Okay, so like there were not a lot of teal shirts going on. App is going to travel a lot better. We know that. App always travels well. You could play in Anchorage, and App is going to bring a good fan base. Yeah. And I think our students will turn out. I think, like you said, the diehards will turn out. I wouldn't be shocked to see 24,000 in the seats in Veterans Memorial. And we do a great job of selling seats at Troy. So I think you could potentially see what is rated as a 30 to 31,000 seat sell. What do you think, Seabass?
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same way. I'm actually looking up right now what tickets look like online, just to kind of get a gauge. The sections that are up on the upper deck, they're pretty open right now. And I imagine that's because of the rain. I imagine those are the seats that people don't want to grab right now. But when push comes to shove and people show up at the gate and buy a ticket at the gate, those are the ones they're going to get handed. So I'm with Joe. We're probably going to see in the range of about 20,000 people or so actually in attendance. How many stay the whole game? I couldn't tell you. It really just depends on what that weather looks like, And we're followers of James Spann down here, and he's saying it's hit and miss. He really can't tell you what time it's going to start and stop. Just know that it's going to happen. So, I mean, if it's a washout, that number's going to dip. But if it sprinkles, I'd imagine it's going to be pretty comfortably packed in there for us.
Yeah. And 62 degrees in the rain is not bad. Not bad at all. I mean, I'd sit in the rain for 62 degrees. Yeah. I mean, 30 degrees in the rain, I'm going to pack it up. Me and my son are going home. Me and my son and my wife, we might watch the rest on TV. But no, 62, 65 degrees in the rain isn't bad. I'll tell you this, and we can, I guess we can all agree to disagree. I think when it comes to packing out stadiums, I don't know how many teams in our conference do it better than we do at App State.
Nobody.
Because generally speaking, over the past, I'll say, 10, 12, 15 years, we've averaged over 30,000 at the games. Even when we couldn't hold 30,000, we had 30,000. So, as far as packing stadiums out, we've got a reputation for good reason, right? There's always been quality football played, and you guys down in Troy have had some quality football played as well. So this is not me saying we're better than you. It's just when it comes to packing out, I know firsthand, having played there and also having now being an alum, there's always going to be 28 to 35,000 people in the seats, no matter what.
Yeah. Well, and to further credit that point, how many people, even a lot of Power Fives, are selling out, what was it earlier this year against Coastal, a Tuesday night game?
Yeah.
Wednesday? That's
Tuesday night, yeah.
Pretty unheard of. So I do think that's a good point. And then to bring Kyle's back up, he said that we pulled 30 over this past weekend against Georgia Southern. Well, here's the aspect of that too. This is 1 week to prepare, where you had all season to make those plans previously. So that's why the championship game to me is always a little different. It's more like that FCS playoff setup where week by week you got to figure out whether you're home, away, got to make plans, got to book a hotel, hope there's enough room. That's all the factors that why I don't think that it always would be a sellout here either. But again, he's giving a credit. He thinks 20 is pretty decent and hopes it's a lively spot. I think it will be lively. I think the crowd was pretty good last year. Like you guys were saying, the students definitely showed up. That was very evident. So that was pretty cool to see there. We packed out Montana and Wyoming.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We brought about 10,000 to Montana.
I heard that Wyoming was blown away with how many people we brought up there too. Yeah. And Neil says the game against Coastal was Tuesday. Okay, enough of that one. Guys, what do you want to say about this game against Southern Miss? I know you talked about it on your show, obviously, before, but anything else you want to just kind of point out to us in this shellacking here in the end? I know that it was a little closer than you probably hoped to start with, though.
Oh, boy. Yeah, we were there. We were in Hattiesburg, enjoying the hospitality of our mustard buzzard friends. They're the second part of the Delta of hate. We hate that team in Mobile, and when we have a little extra time, we hate that team in Hattiesburg as well. They did what I expected them to do. They've got a quarterback who can definitely run the ball. And they have Frank Gore Jr., who's a generational athlete. Right. And you don't stop a guy like Frank Gore all day. You just try to contain him. And that's what 35-17 is. And it's you contained him, and they couldn't beat you with other guys. And so, it was definitely exciting and very fun to lock up home field advantage over there against some folks who consider themselves our rivals. Seabass, I know you had a good time.
Yeah, I had a great time. Personal fan, Fairley's Wings. I'm going to give them another shout out. I can't. It's hopeless here. It's top 10 venue of my life. That place is. It is probably about a 10 by 20 room, and it's got a bar and a couple of tables. And my gosh, it is delicious. Really, really something that they got going on down there in downtown Hattiesburg. But back to the game, I guess. The defense did everything that I thought that they were going to do. They showed up. They were stout. They let Southern Miss get a little out of hand there in the beginning, which was my concern in our preview episode for the Illegal Eagles. I talked about I was worried we were going to go in and just kind of play with the B plan, knowing full well we had the championship game coming up this week. So I kind of saw it coming, but once we got kind of into the back half of the second quarter, we started to lock some things down, and then offense really picked up there in the third and the fourth quarter. So it kind of went to plan for me and how I thought it was going to go. And like Joe said, it's always nice to beat up on them and those guys down in Mobile. So that's a win for me across the board there against Southern Miss.
Nice. So you touched on the transitive property, and I know it was more of a little having fun with it than you were taking it seriously on your show. But you did compare. Obviously, this is a like opponent between App and Troy. There wasn't too many of them this year, also ULM. But when you did compare those, obviously, it favors Troy pretty heavily. Do you guys really, truly read much into that? Or do you know at this point that these teams are kind of different points of the season? And I'll actually have TJ kind of touch on that, too, as well, and see what he thinks.
Did you guys not beat Southern Miss? I thought y'all beat Southern Miss, right? Everybody beat Southern Miss.
We did. I think it was a 10-point game. We gotta beat the team that tries to think that they're the real rock, right? We can't let that stand. So,
no, I think with us, so two things. First is you never are who you think you are the first few games of the season. Only a few select teams are that, right? Like you come into the game. And especially a team as young as we've been. And that's not to create excuses. That's not to, whatever. The facts are the facts. And for a while, we were a very young team. We made some young decisions. We made some young mistakes. And from a coaching standpoint, like I said, we were very lax in our play calling. And that showed from a discipline standpoint, right? Fast forward to about probably 4 or 5 weeks ago, we turned into a team who really pressed the gas pedal. And I think those two teams are very different from each other. That said, Troy's been who they are the entire year, but they kind of had a leg up on us as it relates to the experience level, right? They've got a team that's sort of been together for quite a while. So it takes that sometimes, and it takes building that cohesiveness. I think now there's no excuse. You got two teams now that are pretty fairly evenly matched going into a conference championship. And for all intents and purposes, again, knowing that Troy has been who they are, us finding out who we are kind of midway through the season, now you've got two true number ones, obviously minus JMU, in my opinion. So that's the way I look at it. I mean, there's a lot of times you're not going to define, and it happens across all levels, across really all sports. Nobody is who they are. And I think we had this conversation on one of our initial shows. You're not going to find out who a team is until about the 4th or 5th week of the season. So, And unfortunately, teams like us, we don't have that kind of time in a 12-game season. But that said, it's the luck. It's kind of the luck of the draw. You're going to lose some games that you should have won. You're going to win some games you should have lost. That said, you pick up and you find who you are kind of at some point. And I'm just happy we found ours.
Yeah. All right.
And Kyle Crump just killed it. I don't know if y'all saw his comment, but he said that this team, this App State team, is night and day from what they were 5 weeks ago.
Yeah,
and I could not agree with him more. I will say that one thing I hope App fans will realize is I think this Troy team is pretty different than what it was 6, 7, 8 weeks ago, especially on the offensive line, places that really matter. These are two teams that have grown a lot. And App has been a little more dramatic because it's been in such a kind of tight quarters as far as time. But definitely Troy, I think, has had a similar experience. We had some things that were really bothering us and causing us to not perform well. And all of a sudden, we were really able to turn that around. So, shout out to your listeners once again for being well-informed college football fans.
Yeah, absolutely.
We strive to educate. That's what we do here.
Yeah, Neil's right. We are definitely throwing more and running less, and we've got some playmakers on the defensive side. We'll save a little bit more specific. We'll touch on this game. TJ, you were there live. They retired Armonte Edwards' number, a big party, and it continued after the first quarter, I guess, when it looked like it was going to be a lot more of a game, and then certainly after that, App took control. Since you were on the sideline, completely sober as a fish, as Seabass would say.
Yeah.
What did you see? What did you take in on this one?
Yeah, like you said, towards the beginning of the game, it started out, very, very shaky. I was starting to get pissed off a little bit, to be quite honest. And then you just explode in the second quarter, and it's like, oh, there we are. That's the team that we just finished beating JMU. So was wondering when they were going to show up to the party, but overall, I'll say, and I'm sort of repeating myself, right? We've hit this point a million times. Coaching matters, and putting players in situations where they can show who they really are matters, right? Running the ball on first down or second down every single time just because it's the safe thing to do, that matters, right? Or not doing that matters. And so game planning and taking advantage of your talent, there was absolutely no way at all Georgia Southern was going to cover all four of our receivers. It's impossible. I don't know that anybody can, because but they have a unique combination of size and speed. And when you lock up one, let's say you've got a corner that's a pretty good size, and it takes away one of our taller receivers, then we gash them with, a couple guys that can catch the ball and take it for 20 yards after a catch. So there's too many weapons, and sometimes you've got to throw the ball to open up the run game rather than run to open the pass game. And I think Georgia Southern was a perfect example of that. We started out in the first quarter trying to run the ball, trying to establish the run. And, to Coach Clark's credit, he said, to hell with that. Let's throw the football. And that's what we did. And that's how we really started opening the game up and started winning. So I say all that to say we are very different in terms of A, how we're calling plays, and B, the way we're managing the game. And that was evident against Georgia Southern. And, quite frankly, by the time midway through the third quarter, I was like, I'm going upstairs. We're going to go have some drinks with our money upstairs, because this is getting out of hand.
Good plan. Some guy named Husky Lineman 54, my father, says we are better when Horn catches the ball because it improves our chances. Absolutely. Horn has had let's be honest, a couple of wide receivers have had a couple drops where you're like, man, you got hit in the hands. How'd you drop that?
Right.
And Horn had himself a game this past weekend, especially that play that we broke down to start the episode with, TJ. Easily his best play of the game. Just refused to be tackled. Not necessarily the greatest tackling ability there by the defense either, but when you can take advantage of it, it's pretty good.
He had a great game, and he wasn't even our best receiver.
Right. No, he was statistically he was not the best. No.
Yeah, Robinson went nuts. 108 yards on 8 receptions and 2 touchdowns. I mean, Joey Aguilar threw for almost 400 or almost 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. I mean, it was basically pick who you want to give the ball to, and everybody scores. So anyway, I don't want to keep harping on it, but that was my perspective. Obviously, standing that close to the game, I could see the demeanor was different. I can tell from kickoff. I mean, I've got a video posted of them, standing there watching them run out of the tunnel, and you could tell the energy was different from before the kickoff happened. I mean, I'm standing there, my son's slapping high fives with the players as they're running out, but the energy was very, very different from games that I've seen and game been to in the past. So, first quarter was shaky, but once we got going, I had no doubt.
Yeah. Well, Montrell's disappointed. He said, dang, I missed the bald-headed reasoning segment.
That's what we should call it next season, bald-headed reasoning. I like that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if these guys heard it with Seabass and Joe. I talked about I like how you guys segment your show. I like the names of the segment and how you use them. Maybe that is Montrell will give us a good idea. We'll call it the bald-headed reasoning segment.
I like it.
Real quick, I know Seabass, Joe, you were at the Troy Southern Miss game, as you had said. But do you guys go back typically when you match up with somebody you didn't get to see the game of, before you play them? Like, did you guys go back and watch any of this game or had any interest in that?
No.
Yeah. Seabass. Well, Seabass is a true Trojan.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I watch real football.
Jeez.
Oh boy. Yeah. I mean, I watched. Don't shoot the messenger. I looked at some of it. I mean, obviously, I think you guys handled it really well. It's interesting when you play an arch rival like that. That's always a tough game. I mean, just look at the Alabama-Auburn game that just happened.
Right.
On paper, shouldn't have been close. In reality, comes down to inches. So that's always an impressive feat to beat a rival, especially as impressively as y'all did. And as a true Sunbelt guy, I feel like Troy and App State now are like kind of the grandfathers of the Sun Belt because of these new guys that are in, and we have to kind of walk them through what our expectations are of the culture. I always think it's fascinating in every Sun Belt fan base, basically, there's kind of one player, one number that means so much. At Troy, we have 94. That's DeMarcus Ware. I was on campus at the same time as DeMarcus Ware.
Dallas Cowboy.
And, I wear his jersey at every game. Pro Bowler, NFL Hall of Famer, absolute, just the guy. So I was wondering, and I'm gonna. Talk about a softball to you guys. Could you talk to folks that are not App State fans? What is it about that number 14? What makes the number 14 so special? To have it retired. I know it was a legacy number before, but what does that mean? What did he mean to this program? I would love to know.
So for me personally, obviously having been, played right alongside of him, been his receiver, he steadied the ship, right? When things got rocky, things got crazy, he never let us get too high, never let us get too low. He was always the guy, right? And I was probably one of the biggest trash talkers on the field because I was the smallest. Right. Trust said this could go till midnight. No, you're absolutely right. Because listen, I've run out of superlatives. I've run out of ways to describe who he was as a football player. And listen, the list for him as a football player and the list for him as a human can both be a mile long, right? Because I know both people. But as a football player, like I said, it was steady in the ship all the time, right? His freshman year, we came out and it's certainly humble, certainly very humble. We came out against NC State, game we should have very much won. Next game, he comes in as announced the starter, and it's almost like we were kind of looking around at each other like, is he ready? Is he? And then the very next game, he throws for, I think it was 240 some yards, and he has another 87 rushing yards. And it's like, yeah, he's absolutely ready. So, and he never looked back from that. And so, like I said, he's calm under pressure. He's poised in the pocket. He can throw the ball through a freaking keyhole. He's got a laser arm, or had a laser arm. Obviously, he moved into a receiver role when he went to and played in Canada. But there's so many things that he can do as a guy who was really only about 190 pounds. Rushed for 280 yards in the first half of a playoff game. Come on, man. That's insane.
It's crazy.
That you don't get that kind of production. Really, any running backs don't even do that. So, let alone, this guy. So, like I said, I run out of ways to describe him. Humble is beyond measure. Like I said, calm, poised. He's a guy, and as a person, he's a guy you'd want your daughter to marry because he's going to be humble. He's going to take care of business. He's going to be a man's man. Whatever definition that is in 2023, he is that. So, I could go forever talking about Armani and what the number means and why it's important and why it should have been retired years ago, in my opinion. But but he's a class act. He's a class guy. And like I said, I really enjoyed being in his presence this weekend. I mean, it was just he's fun to be around. He's a good kid all the way around. Well, man, now at this point.
Yeah. I'll just echo that real quick and just say, it just kind of like Kyle Crumpet said on the comments, like I just haven't really seen another player like him. It didn't matter who was playing on TV. I would rather go see Armani play anywhere. And that goes for TV too. I'd rather watch an App State game when he was on the field than, and I don't care if number 1 Georgia's going up against number 2 Alabama. Don't care. I'd rather watch this guy do what he does. That's how good he was. And I'm sure Troy fans feel the same way when DeMarcus Ware was on the field. It's like, I don't care about other teams right now. This is my guy, and that's how App fans feel about Armani. I'm sure, again, you guys feel that way about DeMarcus as well. Let's do a quick break, grab some water, some drinks, guys. We'll hit up a little Dano's ad, and then we'll be right back at it with a real preview of what's to come this weekend.
Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some.
Dano Seasoning, food's favorite flavor.
Yum, yum, get you some.
I'm Joe Burrito, your favorite burrito. Whoa, whoa.
Joe, we all know you're the best.
What?
But you can always do better.
What you got?
Try the new Dano's Hot Chipotle.
Hey. Ooh, that's spicy. Yum, yum.
Yum, yum, get you some.
All right. Well, thanks to Dano's. You know what? I didn't have any salsa the other night when I was doing a burrito bowl. And I had some Chipotle, Dano's, sprinkled that on. Man, I'll tell you what, I did not miss the salsa. And I'm not even kidding when I say that. I thought I would, but it was a very, very good flavor to kick it up a notch a little bit there. Real quick, before we get into the next thing, I do want to say this. Our favorite commenter so far this year, I feel like, because he's our only Texas State representative, Artie Cat has asked us if we're going to do a Sunbelt Bowl announcement show. To be honest with you, I guess TJ and I haven't really put pen to paper on that, but I would love to do that. So if TJ's in, I'm certainly in. I guess we can say it right now. TJ, you want to do something like that?
Yeah, I have no problem with doing it at all.
All right.
Have a little grand finale.
Yeah, there we go. Artie, it's official. We're doing a bowl announcement show just for you, man. We appreciate you coming back and commenting all year.
Yeah, Artie, I came out to San Marcos when Troy came there because y'all were supposed to have kind of a bowl announcement show of sorts to win 6 games, but y'all had to push it back a couple weeks. So I hate to hear that. So sorry, brother.
Real quick, I was doing while we went to commercial break, I was just doing some comparison. Obviously, Tebow and Armani played around that same time, same era. Yeah. I just did and wrote down some stats, right? Career passing yards, Tim Tebow, 9,285 with 88 touchdowns, 2,957 rush yards. Armani Edwards, 10,392 passing yards, 74 passing touchdowns, 4,361 rush yards. And so to your point, when you say things like, I'd rather watch Armani Edwards play than most other quarterbacks, it's not because you're a homer. It's because he was the best football player in college during that era. I don't care about a Tim Tebow. I don't care about whoever else was your quarterback during that time or whatever conference they played in. I don't care about it because he was good enough to be good then. And unlike a Tim Tebow, he also went pro and was very good there. And has got a Grey Cup in Canadian football. You see what I'm saying? So I say all that to say, again, I say it with my chest because obviously that's my guy and I'm emotional about him. But also the facts are the facts. I mean, the stats don't lie, right? So when you talk about who you're going to go see and who you'd rather watch play football, well, it's evident. The proof's in the proverbial pudding. So anyway, I'll shut up now about Armani Edwards. But I just wanted to throw that stat out there. My quarterback was better than Tim Tebow.
There you go. And we were about this close from having them go head-to-head. It was the very next year after he left that App State played at Florida.
I was there. Close. I was down there.
Yeah, that's right. I remember you and Leonard.
Yeah, me and Leonard. We went down there.
I might have got a ride with whoever we were riding with after the club that night.
Yeah, it was a show.
Yeah, it definitely was. I think we have Paul Johnson. He doesn't say anything, but he's got a little emoji of an 8-ball. I believe he's the guy who uses the 8-ball to make some predictions throughout.
Yeah, that's him.
Oh,
Yeah,
I thought he was.
that's him.
Is that a guy you guys know well?
Oh yeah, we know him very well. And he's he's predicting App State to win. So I mean his 8-ball is not welcome in Pike County for pretty much the rest of the season. I think he can go.
Good thing it's
leave
gonna be
it
a
at
short
home.
rest of the season.
Well, Joe, I don't know why you're acting surprised because I went back and listened to the show and it sounded like you also picked App State to win this one.
You did, yeah. I'm a glutton for punishment. I just, it feels kind of like with college football when you start to get to the end of the season, you start to look for narratives. How are these teams doing? How are they? What's the crescendo going to be? And Troy's just had so much.
Uh-oh.
I think we lost.
Joe there?
Or he might have
No, yeah, we lost Joe.
Well, Seabass, do you want to?
Well, yeah, it raises to such a crescendo that the Troy Trojans win this weekend. I really have no idea where he was going with that.
Well, I remember you said Troy by 50.
Troy by 50. That's the way to live. That's my mantra, because I there was one point in one of the seasons where I was kind of not really being cynical, just being pragmatic, and people were really upset by it. So I just said, you know what? I'm just going to start Trojan by 50, and that's the way to live. So,
yeah, I mean, listen, being a homer is one thing, but also you got to, and Dominic and I talk about this a whole lot, is thinking with our heads and not with our hearts, right? There's sometimes you got to put logic on its, use logic to make a decision. And this isn't one of those games, but in some cases, it's just, the math is the math. And if your team's good enough to win, you'll win. And if it's not, then you'll not. So, but games like this, like I said, can be a toss-up. Obviously, as a homer, I'm picking Appalachian State to win this game. But I will say our margin for error is slim to none. We've got to make tackles. We've got to throw the ball well enough that we play balanced, right? And I wouldn't be mad if we came out and threw the ball 35 times and ran it 25 times, right? It's just going to be a matter of what they're giving us. But I think, and I said this earlier, kind of tongue in cheek, I do think that if we protect, Aguilar well enough, your corners are going to have a long day because it's just too many of us it's too many of them. There are too many guys to guard route concepts that we're running now versus what we were running at the beginning of the year. Very much more simplistic, but also sophisticated at the same time. Letting guys be athletes in space and getting the ball across the middle of the field, taking advantage of cover 1, cover 2, those seams, and letting Joey really, sit back and rip it rather than just throwing go balls down the sideline. Actually have him reading and deciphering coverages. And I think that plays to our strength. And like I said, having the guys that we have plays in really any team that we play against, unless you've got 4 just absolute dogs back there, somebody's going to be open almost every time. And we just got to find them.
Yeah. I feel like it's hard to say Troy has a weakness on defense because it's probably their strong suit, right? But their secondary, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I felt like if there's a weakness on defense, it's probably going to be in the secondary.
Right.
And it's not that it's bad. It's just that if there's a weakness, if we're grading on a scale of A to F, that's probably B. It's not bad. It's just, you can take advantage of it on one-on-one situations.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be what has to happen.
Yeah, you got Ronnie Stewart back there, so you got at least one guy we will likely try to avoid throwing too often. That's for sure. But I don't know. Kyle is asking CBS, you can handle this one while we still wait for Joe to hopefully get back in here. But does Troy have any portal threats heading into Saturday? I think what he's asking is, you got anybody that you think is maybe good enough to be stolen from you? I know that's the concern with Joey Aguilar on our side of things. I don't know if you've got somebody like that over there for Troy as well.
I wouldn't say that for Saturday it's going to be a concern. Maybe the bowl season it's a bigger concern. But I would say Chris Lewis is probably number one on the list.
Yeah.
I think he's talented enough to play anywhere. He's big enough to play anywhere. The question is he going to want to stay with a winning program or go somewhere else for money? I think that's the real question there.
Yeah. Is he not the Kentucky transfer?
The top of my head, let me look that up.
Because
I don't want to tell you lies.
Right. No, the reason I'm asking is because that could play into a possible decision. Because I believe at that point, either he has to sit out a year or whatever. It sounds like it could be like the Tez Walker thing, right? Like he's on his third team, depending on how he came to Troy. If he is the Kentucky transfer, I don't know why. What happened there? Maybe he never played it down at Kentucky or whatever. So I don't know the background aspect to it, but I guess if you could find that out, that could be beneficial.
He is the Kentucky transfer now that I'm looking at it. He's only had 2 receptions during his time at Kentucky. So that's probably why he left. He only played twice. So
which is crazy because what he's done. I mean, I know he's had there was one game where he didn't catch a pass, which was kind of shocking, but pretty much every other game he's had some miraculous catch, some miraculous play of some sort. So it's kind of shocking that if he was on Kentucky's roster, they couldn't find some better way to get that kid the ball. I don't know. But he's definitely going to be a problem for App on Saturday, I feel like, unless the rain is just that bad that they can't put it into the air too much. But I don't know. Getting back to this one, Artie's got a comment here too. Troy's defense bigger, stronger, faster. TJ said it best. Stretch it out, get man-to-man matchups. App State O-line will have to – yeah. I can tell you from what I watched actually saw it a lot of the year. I mean, to me, Jaborner is like hands down the guy that you have to defend. And I think, TJ, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong here, like Damian Daly. Is that the side of the field, the weak side, the left side?
Yeah.
I think that too is matchup. But interesting enough, App's had a number of O-linemen go down seemingly every game. And so they've probably developed a good amount of depth because of that as far as getting guys onto the field. But, I mean, you're going to have to get that depth going all day with it's number 9 right there actually on screen, right? Is that your Jaborner's number, Seabass?
I think we might have lost Seabass as well.
Uh-oh.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, there it is. Sorry. Richard. It's Richard Jubinor, number 9.
Jubinor. Okay. Sorry. Yeah. I knew I'd probably mess it up at some point.
Hey, it's the pride of Delta State, Nigeria, coming to Troy, Alabama.
Yeah.
Nice.
He is a monster, man. Delta State, Nigeria, How did he end up at Troy, I guess?
I have no idea. That is a question for somebody other than me. He showed up in Troy in 2018. So what is that? Is that the tail end of the Neil Brown era, right?
Okay. Yeah, I think so.
So that was when he first played at Troy, was in 2018. And then didn't play at all in 2019 and then came back in 2020.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to imagine. It's not hard to imagine because of what you guys did last year, accomplishments wise, but like him and Carlton Martial on the same defense. Crazy. To think that you guys had that.
Yeah.
And obviously why you guys were so good defensively last year. And look who we got back. Joe's back.
Hey, welcome back.
Thank you, my friends.
Joe, I'm going back to this comment real quick because I did want to forget it. Artie Cat says, "How dare you, sir?" Because your snide comment for San Marcos earlier.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had a disappointing burrito in your downtown, so I mean, how dare you? To be honest, I've had better burritos in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So I mean,
good thing we aren't known for burritos.
Yeah,
this is CUSA burrito level that we got going on in San Marcos, and I'm not going to put up with it.
Well, Montreal's got a little Adidas comment for you guys. I know TJ feels the same way. Adidas is not the same level as Nike.
Yeah.
You guys care about that as Troy fans or what?
I have more opinions than most. I hate the apparel at the bookstore. There, I said it. I'm gonna say it out loud. I think that the apparel that Adidas provides for the fan base is not the same quality that the players and the coaches get. And if we could get to that standard and that level, the people who pay for it and support the school's bookstore should be able to get some decent quality. I don't want the exact same thing John Summerall wears. It doesn't bother me. But if I'm going to spend $60 on a polo, I want it to be of some quality and not trash.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and that's the thing with Nike. So I'm a huge Nike fan. There's not anything in my closet that goes on my feet that isn't a Nike shoe. So there's that part. The other part, and I even wear them when I'm dressed up to it. Like I'll wear a suit and then some Nike Air Max 90s or some Air Max 1, like because that's just who I am as a human. That said, the difference between what you're talking about with Adidas and Nike is that Nike also offers us quality material. You know, we went into the bookstore and bought my son a Nike hoodie to wear in the game. And sure, it was pricey. It was about $56 or whatever it was, but it was like new, just came out and the players were wearing it. So like on the sideline, the guys who weren't in the game were wearing it. And I was like, oh, we have an actual official hoodie that the team is also wearing. So like we felt a part of it. You know what I mean? So it's not just, they're not just throwing things on the shelf that the players also don't wear. And also, like I said, going back to it, Nike's just it's just a better brand. It just is.
Yeah. Artie throws a little comment about Troy's chrome helmets and logo. Actually, wow, I didn't see that the first time around.
I saw it. Have fun in the Frisco Bowl, buddy. Okay.
Artie was hoping for the Boca Raton because that's where he's going to end up living, I think is what he had said. I got a little change here since we're going to be talking the game. I got a little hell yeah.
Yeah, you can be a little more biased than usual now. Yeah.
There we go. Much more comfortable there. So this was my wife actually bought me this after the game last year. So yeah, I thought I'd break it out for tonight.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. I like it.
Yeah, not bad. Miracle on the Mountain Part 2, they call it. So
yeah, I've got my fair share of Appalachian State gear. I've still got. So I don't know how much you guys know about my playing days, but I played back in 05 to 09. I literally still have the Russell Athletic shorts from our Thursday and Friday practice. I still have those. I still have the Appalachian block letters football practice shirt. Like I don't throw anything away. I still have all of it. So I've got probably, I don't know, it's an insane amount of Appalachian State t-shirts.
Nice. Yeah. You got the Russell and the champion stuff. Yeah, man, that's legacy at this point.
We had, it was a big deal. We still joke about it. It wasn't until my junior year that we got Nike my sophomore, junior year. Anyway, and at the Thanksgiving banquet dinner, because we were always in the playoffs, obviously, during that time, so couldn't go home. One of the jokes were we finally got sweatpants with pockets. Before that, Appalachian State had never had sweatpants with pockets in them. So it's like, we must be doing something right because we got sweatpants with pockets now.
Yep. And Montreal says you guys won natties in Russell, and you did.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
That's what. Yeah. Well,
the brand don't make the man, son.
Yeah. No stupid Jumpman logo at App. No.
Well, I'm not mad about it. If Jordan wanted to come over here and hang out with us, I'm not upset about it. Let's not get crazy. I'm not kicking Jordan out of bed. so let's not get silly. But I do prefer Nike.
I prefer Nike. I don't like the Jumpman. I'm not a Jordan fan. So my son does have a pair of Jordans. I mean, we live beside Chapel Hill. I guess you got to have it. Back to this matchup specifically. I want to know something from both Joe and Seabass, and maybe even you, TJ. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it. Have you guys wanted this rematch? Is this something you wanted to retribution and revenge for, or is you're we would have rather beat the hell out of Coastal again, or had a shot at JMU again. Like, what's the feeling of the fan base for Troy coming into this Saturday?
Seabass, what are you thinking, bro?
I'll say that when I saw that there was a chance that App State could get back in this, I scoffed and said, no, that's not happening. But here we are. Look, there are some people who are still on, whatever y'all are calling it out there, the Hail Mary play that everyone talked about for years and ESPN's going to talk about all the time on Saturday. But truth be known, we're kind of past that now. We're a different team than we were then. And it's not really something that's on the front of our mind. I don't even know that we really mentioned it in the podcast when we talked about it this past week, or getting set up for this game. So if you wanted to know my honest who I wanted to play, I really wanted to play Georgia Southern because that's a team we've not played in years. And I feel like that team is scrappy enough to really give a good fight. I still assume we would win the game, but I feel like Georgia Southern would have been a fun game for us, but that was, 3 or so weeks ago whenever that was a possibility too. But if I had to choose between y'all and Coastal, I would have preferred to play y'all because I think it'd be a more fun game. I'm worried we're going to get a repeat of the Coastal game last year where they show up and just roll over. So I'm looking forward to this game. I think it's going to be a good one. I think this line is pretty gosh darn accurate. It's going to be pretty tight.
Yeah. I mean, I posted this up.
Yeah, App State is, just always plays it. As soon as I heard we were in Hattiesburg still that App State was going to be coming to Troy for the game, it's just App State is one of those teams. As a college football fan, you've got teams that no matter what's going on, they always seem to have your number. And App State just, y'all have whatever, deep holler magic y'all put on yourselves that makes it very hard for Troy to win against you. So, yeah, I was not rooting for an App State matchup. I wanted to, maybe Coastal. That would have been nice. I could have sat on the first row and yelled at Grayson McCall about the number of credits he didn't have. That would have been fun. But you guys are going to come down and now we're going to have a real game. So, I am excited about it, but definitely not the matchup I would have chosen for sure.
Interesting. TJ, how do you feel? You glad it's Troy? Were you kind of looking for somebody else before the season kind of thing, or what did you feel about it?
So the player in me is like, I don't give a damn. Line them up. It won't matter. If we play our best game, nobody can beat us. So, and again, that's the player in me. The fan in me, I kind of like playing against Troy. There's some history there between Troy and Louisiana. There's some history, and there's a healthy respect for both teams. I think from one to another, from both sides, it sounds like. And so, I'd like to play the best. But again, like I said, as a player, I'm always like, just line them up. I don't care who it is. We'll play anybody.
Yeah, it'll be a good game. And, to further back up what Joe was saying, how App State's kind of that team that's always had our number. In the last 10 years, App State is 7-1 against Troy. The one time that we've won, it was at home. And I was at that game. That was a miraculous pass kind of game.
Brandon Silvers,
the Silvers bullet himself. It was one of those. I was sitting on the home side and the student section was cheering before the home section because they could actually see what happened. But that was a great game. But anyway, App State is really one of those teams that when we hear we're going to play them, there's that small shudder. But I feel like this team is just different. I don't know how else to say that. And even compared to last year, like last year, we knew we were good, but there was always that twinkle of doubt in the back of our head that was like, okay, when are we going to fall? When are we going to trip? When are we going to stumble? Right. And right now we've instilled this culture of excellence, this culture of winning, and that losing is not acceptable. But that, like Joe was saying at the get, whenever we got on, there's all this feels like it's scripted for App, to win. So I'm worried that we may stumble this game, but my Troy boy side says Trojans by 50.
Yeah. That actually perfect segue, because I was going to ask that type of question next. Like, do you guys feel you had a better overall team last year, or do you feel the team this year is actually better overall?
I'll go first. I think the defense last year was better than this year, but I think the overall unit is better this year, especially offensively. I feel like we've really gotten things going on offense. We got a more solid run game. Gunnar Watson is pretty electric this season. We had to have the Sarah McLachlan piano special in one of our episodes to apologize to Gunnar for my atrocities in the past, saying negative things about him.
I remember that one.
Yeah, but so I feel like we're a better unit this year than we have been in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I think defense. You're probably right. Let's go way out on a limb and say that a defense gets worse when it graduates the NCAA leader in career tackles. We're really breaking ground as a podcast here. But on offense, really last year the defense needed to ensure teams didn't score more than 10 points, because if they did, we likely weren't going to beat them. Now we have an offense that can really go out and score 35, 42 points. Gunner's progressed more from last season to this season than he did the entire 3 years that so-called coach Chip Lindsey was on campus. So he's really become a much better player. I think this is all very, very exciting. And I'm ready to get it on. Now I'm excited for the game. Y'all have got me all hyped up. And I'm ready to see what happens. Now I'm with Seabass now. Troy by 50. Let's do it.
I almost 100% agree with what Seabass said, and I guess pretty much, Joe, you echoed. Defense was probably better last year, not by a lot. Still very good defensively, but
we're splitting hairs. Yeah,
exactly. I think your offense is light years better than what you were last year.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're just able to score with the rest of the conference, whereas previously, like you said, your defense had to win the game essentially, or at least do enough that offense just had to barely outscore the other team. So you don't have those types of concerns. One thing that I want to go back to, actually, kind of, you guys all went to Hattiesburg, and maybe you've been there before too. Have any of you been to Boone?
No, I've never been.
Okay. I have been to Boone. I was in Boone. I've been to Boone twice. The last time I was in Boone was the Miracle on the Mountain. I was there for game day, and then there when y'all had the Hail Mary. So I really learned a lot about self-control walking back to my car. As I would say, people say about App State fans all the time that App State fans are super respectful, and they really are. App State undergrads who have been
completely different.
Who have been drinking natural light since 5 a.m.
No, get it right.
On campus.
It's PBR because they're
okay. So you've been drinking a PBR since 5:15 in the morning because you wanted to get your sign on game day. You're going to be maybe not the most polite young man or woman, but we made it out just fine, and really enjoyed our time in Boone. From Troy to Boone is such a beautiful drive, because really once you get to Birmingham, you start the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. So you get to kind of watch the kind of the growth of the mountains as you go up. But so, yes, I have been to Boone twice, and enjoyed myself both times.
Nice. So on a much more interesting point here, you went to the Rock last week. You've been to the Rock up here. Which one's the real Rock?
Oh, it's y'all. Maybe one time it was maybe Southern Miss. I don't know. That I know that they have a great history. But as Branch Rickey said when he was signing Jackie Robinson instead of Satchel Paige, I want a man with a future, not a man with a past. And Southern Miss, they might have a great past, But App State, when you go up there, like y'all said, absolutely always 85% full at minimum. And people are so welcoming. And the campus is so unique, it's the same way I feel about Troy. Troy is a unique campus, beautiful campus, but you walk through Boone, and because of the natural topography of the place and the hills and things like that, you kind of have to be nice to people because they have to show you how to get into the stadium if you've never been there. So it is, I really enjoyed it. And so absolutely, I have no problem offending mustard buzzard illegal Eagle fans by saying that the real rock is up near Grandfather Mountain in Boone, North Carolina, not in Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Nice.
We appreciate it, but we already knew that.
Yeah, we just had to verify that you were the smart one in the house there, and it wasn't the dog for real. So, did Southern Miss cancel Brett Favre yet? No, I think they doubled down even more on Brett Favre.
They gotta hold on to what they got. So
I was here to say that's the best they're ever gonna do. Not that was terrible, but or he was terrible while at Southern Miss. But they got to hold on to what they have. So that's for sure.
Yeah, well, he scammed the good people out of a lot of money in the state of Mississippi, at least if all is to be true. So it's not a good look for that guy. All right, so we've talked about the weather a little bit. Do you guys think, real quick, does that favor anybody more here? I mean, at this point, I would say that Troy probably runs the ball more consistently better than App does at this point. So, I mean, is that – I know Seabass alluded to, he was excited about it because that's what you guys want. Is that because of the run game, or just in general Troy does well in, inclement weather games?
Well, we're really not had any this season, so I really can't answer that one honestly. The only game that we've had rain for is the Army game, and that was in West Point. That wasn't at home. So yeah, topography. Look at that. That's right. That's right. Oh man. Anyway, but yeah, we haven't really had the rain issue, so I really can't speak to that for this team. I'm kind of hoping they're going out there on the practice field with sprinklers on, getting ready for Saturday. But yeah, we'll see. We'll find out when we get there.
I think
the JMU game was pretty wet. I guess it was a little bit, but maybe was it just wet from previous rain? It wasn't raining much during the game. I can't remember off the top.
It didn't rain during the game. It stopped by about kickoff. It rained throughout the Army game in West Point. We won that one 19-0. I think. Does it benefit anybody? Troy loves to run the ball under John Summerall. And so perhaps a sloppy game, a wet game gives coach an excuse to run Kamani more, to run Damian Taylor more, even to run Tay Meadows more, who's a young back who all of a sudden has been getting a lot of love in the last few games. But I think this is all just a guess. I think at the end of the day, as much as you'd like to say, well, we're going to do better when it rains because we run better, you got to be able to pass the ball in the rain, or everybody's going to put 11. They're going to put 10 guys in the box, and then what good does it do you? So, I think it's going to be a dogfight no matter what, whether it's raining or whether it's a beautiful day.
Yeah. Very true. Artie's getting a little jab in here from you.
Oh yeah, no, I saw that's real original, buddy.
It's like the goat comments for us up here in the mountains, which we are get from Georgia Southern all the time. It's like, I think that's more y'all, but anyway. Neil says that App experienced some rain there at UNC and very late versus ECU. Yeah, I mean, TJ, as far as the App aspect, what do you think? You've been on the field with this team specifically. Does that kind of favor them, or is it pretty similar to Troy, whereas we know we're going to have to put it in the air no matter what the weather is in this one?
Yeah, you're gonna have to throw the ball no matter what. I mean, Troy's front seven. I mean, you guys know this. You watched them all year. You've seen it. I mean, Troy's front seven is dominant, and that's not to say that their back four isn't as well. Isn't really good. I just think the mismatch for us is in the air. That said, conditions favor Troy in that regard, right? If you want to kind of bottle us up, that's going to be the best way to do it. Now, that said, that doesn't mean we can't run the football. We are very, very, and have three very good running backs. Obviously, Noel's been banged up over the past couple of weeks, but we've got, three very good running backs that can kind of at any point, and all very different styles too. So it's a lot to kind of be thrown at you at once. So running the ball is certainly not a weak point, but if there is a stronger point of our football game and where we can take advantage, I think most is going to always be in the passing game. And I think Joey has come into his own enough. Now, again, like I said, inclement weather, it's going to depend on if it's a monsoon, if it's downpouring, obviously that's going to hugely affect the way we catch the ball and throw the ball. That said, if it's just a light drizzle or a light sprinkle, I mean, these gloves are set up nowadays for these kids, there's going to be no problem.
Gotcha. I guess if you guys want to throw out some score predictions, we can do that. But I'm actually more interested in who you guys think is going to be kind of the MVP of the offense and the defense for both teams. Or maybe if you just want to do Troy, that's fine. We'll give people our side of things from the app side if you're more comfortable with that. But Seabass, you want to start us off with who you think is going to impress this Saturday for you guys?
Well, it depends on if we get the run game established or not. If we get the run game established and Kamani Valdell has a really good showing, he'll probably be the offensive MVP this game. But if not, Gunnar Watson is a pretty solid fall right there for the offensive player of the game. And defensively, we have a long. I love Jaden McDonald. I don't think that's a player that gets enough love on our team. The linebacker, he really is stellar. But I feel like if somebody's going to get the nod, probably Richard Jubinor or Javon Solomon, the two of them would probably be the standouts for our defensive unit.
Yeah, nice. No, I agree. I mean, I think, you've got to look out for on offense, Chris Lewis. TJ, I know, as a wide receiver, you must have watched some of Chris Lewis's highlights and been impressed by your brethren. Because he is, I don't know when he's on his game. I don't know that he can be covered by an actual Appalachian mountain peak on a favorite because he's just that good. Yeah. So if he gets involved, I could see him really helping our offense. And defensively, absolutely. I think Richard Jubinor, he is kind of revved up. He's ready to go, coming back from a little bit of an injury, and I think ready to help his team get another title shot for sure.
Nice. All right, TJ, you want to take the app side first, or you want me to start off with that one?
No, I mean, I don't mind it. I think, for us to have, I think, and hear me out on this, I think picking a single player for us offensively does not bode well for who we are as a team. And I say that because we don't ever win with just one person. We win by committee. When we're playing very good football, everybody's touching the ball. That said, it's going to have to be Joey Aguilar, in my opinion, right? It's because we're not going to have we probably won't have a receiver over 150 yards, although it is possible. We probably will have 3 or 4 receivers around that 70 to 85-yard mark, which is what it's going to take to win the football game. I do think we'll run the ball well. We'll probably, combine rush for about 150, ish yards because of whether it's going to dictate us running the football. That said, I think it's going to come down to, and I've said it a million times, how well we throw the football. And for us to do well means everybody touches the football. So if I have to give a nod to somebody who's player of the game, it's going to be Joey because ball distribution, right? It's not going to be one standout guy, but that's who we are as a team. And that's who really we've always been, right? I mean, you can go back to 2005 when I played. I mean, there could be a game where 8 different guys touched the football, and 4 of which scored a touchdown, right? So it's never just been one. I mean, obviously Armani has always been a standout, and maybe Kevin Richardson and Devin Moore. But we win by committee and always have been that way. So I think for us, again, player of the game offensively is probably going to be Joey. If the game plan goes the way I expect it to be.
Yeah, I think Montreal's touching to your point. It's the Jimmy and the Joes more so than the X's and O's.
Right.
So that's where I'm going to throw a little curveball, and I'm not even needing to name names because App's got like 2, and I think Troy's really got 2. Tight ends in this game could be a big difference maker down near the end zone, especially. We just saw in the clip breakdown, I don't know if you guys were watching when the start of the show happened. You guys had a trick play last week.
Mm-hmm.
Who was it? The wide receiver that threw it? I can't remember. It was number 6.
Oh, Chris Lewis threw the ball.
Chris Lewis threw it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris Lewis throws it to Olendeki. Is that how you say it?
Allendike.
Allendike.
Oh, okay. All right. I knew it started with an OLL. But this is the type of game and the type of situation where like everyone expects the running back, everyone expects the wide receiver, and it's going to be like this tight end who only had one game that he approached 100 yards at all season. He's going to have 2 touchdowns near the end zone and 1 40-yard catch in the middle of the field, and he's probably going to earn player of the game. Like it feels like it's going to be that game. If nobody else stands out, the guy that's going to have, multiple touchdowns, even if they're short yardage, it feels like this could be that type of game, especially if the weather's, going to be as bad as we think. So I'll say that a sneaky suspicion that Eli Wilson or Miller Gibbs or somebody along the tight end aspect for App State just has like a bigger game than you ever expect in this type of scenario. Defensively, I think we're going to have to go with a player in the secondary because I think to win this game, we're going to have to force Gunnar Watson into some mistakes. And hopefully, the wet weather bodes well in that effort. And so, a pick or 2, hopefully. I'm going to say, maybe Favors is back there like he was this past weekend, or Funderburk, who you guys like the name of.
That's a great name.
Week. Yeah. So I'm thinking like it's going to be a secondary player, and it may be a secondary player for Troy as well. Depending on how Joey's game goes. I mean, he's had some games where he's had multiple interceptions. So it's crazy. It's like you said, Seabass, this line is like perfectly where it should be. Because I really think that you have to favor the home team, and you have to favor a team that's probably been more consistent throughout the entirety of the season at this point, even though I think every App fan is comfortable coming into this one too. It's kind of like a weird scenario. I don't think either team is necessarily scared of the other. I think they're very confident, and I feel like this is very similar to what App fans kind of experienced with JMU just 2 weeks ago, which is, sure, you're comfortable and confident too, but we're just as comfortable and confident. We're not scared to come in here and win this game. And so for that reason, though, I think it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. I just wish the weather was going to be a little bit nicer because I know those App players would love to get down there and play in some 60 degrees sunny conditions because they are not going to see that in Boone for the rest of the season.
That's for sure.
Oh, man. So we had some score predictions in your show. I guess we could just reiterate those, but I don't know if we even really need to. I feel like that's a way to get people to get over there and listen to the Troy Boys good work that they do on a consistent basis.
Thank you.
So do you guys have any other – I guess here, we'll return the favor with the food stuff. I know that there's some App people headed down. So give us some recommendations. It doesn't have to be food either. If you've got something that experience-wise that somebody should go check out. Anything you guys want to mention before we head out?
Joe, I'll let you tee it up. Go ahead.
All right. Well, so I'll take the easy one. Coming in to Troy from U.S. Highway 231, coming in from Montgomery, you're going to pass a little place on the right called the Barbecue House on 231.
So,
and it seems innocuous. It looks maybe like you don't want to stop there. But I'm going to tell you, go ahead and stop there. And then you're going to open the door, and it's going to look like a 1950s diner. And I'm going to tell you, don't even stop there. Keep walking through that diner, because in the back corner, there's a door that'll take you into a honky-tonk bar, which is open 24 hours a day. And you can sit at that bar You can still smoke cigarettes at that bar, which is really impressive. And you can order some of the best wings in South Alabama. Ask for Jennifer, order yourself a cold beer, and have her smoke them and drop them, and experience some of the best wings you've ever tasted in your entire life. Seabass, I'm so sorry. I got to take the easy one.
Yeah, you did. I completely say, echo that sentiment there that the barbecue house on 231 is just a hidden gem. And if you've never been, you don't know what it's like. So definitely go and get you some wings smoked and dropped out there at the barbecue house at 231. But if the honky tonk smoke and dive bar is not for you and you still want some decent barbecue, go on down to Hook's Barbecue. That's a little closer to campus. It's actually in town. It's out there by the Walmart. And get you just some basic pulled pork sandwiches. They come in the standard and the large variety. And that large sandwich is large, and I'm a big guy. I like some food, but that large sandwich is probably a little bit too much for me. So you probably just get away with the standard sandwich there. But Hook's Barbecue is probably an institution there in Troy as well, for barbecue. And then you got to mention it. Sister's Restaurant. I know they're closed on weekends, so people really can't go and participate. But if you find your way in a couple days earlier or stay through Monday or something, go on down to Sister's. They open at like around 10 and they close around 2. Like it's very short-lived hours, but their fried chicken is second to none out there at Sister's.
Nice. I love a good smoked fried wing. I do a lot of smoked meats myself, and a smoked fried wing is top tier. You understand? I mean, that is done right, especially when it's done the right way. It is, I love it.
Yeah, I love a smoked wing too. I didn't have smoked wings for the longest time. Then I had one, life-changing, quite literally. Yeah. So I wish I was heading down. As I mentioned before, I'm having all 4 wisdom teeth removed tomorrow morning. So driving on painkillers probably not a good idea. But,
I'm probably not
advised. Yeah.
I was thinking about it before I realized that was still on my calendar. So unfortunately, I won't be making the trip down. And Kyle has some fighting words here as he says Carolina barbecue better than Bama barbecue.
I see him keep trying that. Yeah, nice job. Not the case.
Depends on who's cooking it, because I'm and two, what kind of sauce you like, because North Carolina, obviously vinegar based. I make a mean vinegar based barbecue sauce. That's all I'll say, especially for pulled pork. If you want a good pulled pork sandwich up here in North Carolina, let me know. I can make sure it happens.
Me, I want one. Kyle's asking, is the Alabama white barbecue sauce a real thing? Is it basically ranch?
No, it is not ranch. It is not ranch, but it is legit. It's basically it's a more of a northern Alabama thing. I live up here kind of in the northwest corner, where it's pretty prominent. It's basically mayonnaise, vinegar, and pepper. I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, you just get it to a nice. It's really runny. It's kind of like a Carolina vinegar sauce in that aspect, that it's just a really runny sauce. It's not thick. So when you hear the mayonnaise, you're like, golly, it's gonna be glooped on mayonnaise on top of my barbecue, but it's not. It's pretty runny. And it's pretty tangy. And then sometimes you add extra seasons to it, make it a little spicy or something. But white barbecue sauce is legit. And I hate mayonnaise, but that stuff is good.
Yeah, I actually make a Alabama white sauce that I have a recipe for, and it's the real deal. Alabama white sauce is actually a thing, and it is delicious.
I was going to say,
put it on just about anything.
I already ate dinner, but now I'm hungry again. So, I definitely got to try me some Alabama. I don't think I've ever heard of it before this episode. So,
really,
to me, no.
I got to put you on game, man. I got to put you up on game.
Yeah, well, all the people that are around here for me, as far as family, all my family's up north. So the wife's side is all from here, and they do not like mayonnaise. They won't get into mayonnaise. Not big barbecue people.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. I am. I love the mayonnaise. Duke's is the best mayonnaise.
Yeah, Duke's mayonnaise is it. That's good stuff. If you want an Alabama white sauce that you can order pretty much anywhere and sent to you, there's a company called Alabama Sunshine. Okay, it's out of Fayette, Alabama. Really small town, small local company. They make all their own sauces in house, and they make a excellent spicy white sauce. You should grab it if you're available. You can find it online. They have it on one of their websites and stuff and get it shipped right out to you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Might have to do that. And also see what TJ's cooking up over here with his too. I'm taste test them all at this point now that I've heard about it.
Can't go wrong.
No, yeah, absolutely. So guys, I really appreciate you guys coming on, man. We've almost hit 2 hours. So this has been awesome. Neil says these boys sound like us. I think that's kind of why this one's fun. That's why I'm disappointed I'm not getting down there for this, because I wanted to see Troy. The facility looks nice too. I'll say that from the coverage I've seen on TV and the pictures. I was like, that looks like a heck of a football stadium venue. So yeah, I am disappointed that TJ and I couldn't ride down there together. I don't know if he would have done it. It's 8 hours.
Yeah, I'd make
8 hours in a ride with me, but he might have done it.
Yeah, I'd make that ride. Got to get permission from the wife, but I'd make that ride.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll rematch again next year, and the weather will be better.
Let's do it.
Or we'll have a regular season matchup at some point. I mean, we used to do it all the time when we were both in the East. So
that's right.
Yeah, for sure.
By the way, I'm going to give myself a little credit. Do you know the only publication that picked Troy to win the West last year? That's right, Sunbelt Syndicate. Thank you very much. I'll be there all night.
Oh, boy. Okay.
That's right. Everybody else thought them boys down in Mobile were an actual football team, and look at them, bunch of flops.
Sure did.
Yeah. Now, I will say,
Kentucky Fraud Chickens.
Wow. Wow. I like it.
Artie's going the other way here. See, he's picking Troy instead of the app guys.
You know what, Artie? You're a pretty cool guy. I like you.
Yeah, I forgive you, Artie. San Marcos was really cool, actually, now that I think about it. It was a super nice time. I'll come jump in the river if that's what it takes.
Oh, man. Well, man, this guy has been phenomenal, man. It's been a fun, like Montrell said earlier, we probably could just go all night on this, but Troy's going to say, I win. Well, yeah, if Troy wins, you win, Troy.
You win.
But push out your stuff. I know we talked about it a little bit, but let everybody know where they can find you, and I'm sure you'll be doing another show no matter what happens in this game, because you'll have a bowl game to attend, so...
Yeah, we sure do. You can find us most anywhere at the Troy Boys Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, or whatever the kids are calling it now. We just started rolling on YouTube, so we only have this episode out actually on our YouTube channel, but you can still find us at Troy Boys Podcast. Give us a like, rate, subscribe, review, share it out to other people, and go Trojans. Looking forward to this game on Saturday.
Absolutely. Please, listen to the Troy Boys Podcast and go to troyfans.com. It is the spiciest message board in the history of college football. And Troy fans need other Sunbelt fans to come on there and witness it. So please come to Troy Fans, free to register. Get on troyfans.com. You're not going to regret it. And you might end up on the Troy Boys Podcast winning the troyfans.com hot take of the week. So Go over to troyfans.com. You'll like it.
I think that might be my favorite segment. Do you guys record that little intro every week, or is that just?
No, that is raw every time.
It's live.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I was like, I don't think this is the same. I feel like it's not the same, and I'm like, there's definitely not the same. I love it, TJ. If you haven't heard that, man, we got to get you to hear that.
I'll be checking it out.
It's hilarious. It's great. It's one of my favorite segment intros I've ever heard. So, TJ, push your stuff out too, and then we'll wrap up and get out of here.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Mr. Corman12, or my food page is Thick Thighs and Large Fries. You could also find me on Facebook at TJ Corman.
Awesome. Looks like we picked up a few fans this episode. Definitely some Troy people, which is awesome. I'm glad everyone's getting into the spirit here as we get closer to Saturday. The excitement picks up. Thank you guys for all tuning in. Again, Sunbelt Syndicate across all social platforms. I got them all, even though I don't like to be on all of them. We're there. So we'll post stuff up, and I hope everyone enjoys the game Saturday, except for Troy, and we will see you guys next time.